Sunday, and I'm gonna try and do the lead. See if I can get anywhere with it. So I'm gonna grind all this, sand this back to metal, and get ready to try and tin it. I'm only concerned about this hole here. I think it will fill properly, but that's what was over it before. If you look close, like that's the old lead there. I was able to grind it out. So I guess that's how much they filled it, but we'll see. I might push it down a bit more. And there's only one way to find out. Change of plans in order of operation, and decided I'm going to try and put the tranny in the motor tranny in the car and get the trans tunnel clearanced and cut out for the shifter and everything first. While there's some people around, I can get everyone to give me a hand, and so it'd be cool. It'd be nice to see the motor in there for 5 minutes as well. So I'm just going to get the linkages off and everything. Start with the small hole, and then start clearancing and get onto there and start adding the shift rods and everything. I'm mostly concerned about the offset of how far this is off, which means that these rods are going to be really far outwards of the tunnel, because I'm sure the tunnel comes pretty tight here. So we'll see how that goes. Cool. So the motor's in. Just got regular repo mounts in at the moment. I'm going to switch them out to mighty mounts when I get a chance, but this will be fine for locating it now. And bolts are through. And now I've just got to figure out the floor clearance for the transmission. So this is the old cross member that had the Turbo 350 on it. I'm going to put the mount up in there and then figure out the clearance. Obviously the biggest thing's the shift rods. Otherwise everything else is plenty of room for the bell housing and everything else. And I got the floor clearanced for the shifter, which actually it's a fair bit for those straight shift rods, but clears are going to come back and finish it up. But right now it's pretty awesome. I think it's going to be really cool. And then I've still got a notch here for the reverse, just hits a little, but right now I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm just going to leave it in, and I'm going to try and start on the lead now. We'll give that a shot. Okay, I've started stripping the quartering, stripping the seam, getting all the crap out of there, nice and smooth so I can tin it. And I guess, yeah, you just put this tinning butter on and heat it up and wipe it off. I don't know, a bunch of things I've watched on it. I don't really know much about it other than what I've seen, so I'm just going to go off that in the directions and see how we go. And then the neighbors came out to drink all my beer as well and watch me fail at this. So let's give this a shot. So not knowing anything about this, I'm doing the just using the stuff that I use for my paint that I got from Summit, the crappy wax and grease remover. And then after that, I'm doing the surface wash on it. And I have no idea if this is going to work or if it's going to fail, but I don't think there's any other way to tell except just try it and see what happens. So we'll see how it goes. So here's something I learned with the tinning butter, which this is called flux and solder. So I had to actually look up and confirm which was what, because my kit came with this other stuff, and that turns out that's the tallow, that's the stuff that stops it from sticking to the paddle. But this is completely separated, and the only reason I thought of stirring it is because I read a long time ago when I was looking in this, I read somewhere where a guy had a problem and he couldn't get it to stick, and then he realized that he hadn't stirred the flux, so he started all over again. So this, when I started, it was this color, it was like white on top, and I've been stirring this for a few minutes and there was like solid chunks in there. So that's the first thing that I've learned so far, which has been true. So at least this step won't be wrong, or will be better than what it could have been. It's actually thinner than I thought, stuff.
Get the butter.
Oh yeah, there we go, that's the thick stuff. Maybe I didn't mix it enough. It's better. God, if they wouldn't fill this thing up so much. I'm really glad I stirred that. It's kind of runny still, but I think it'll be alright. So this is after the first round of tinning. Doesn't look great, but it's not bad. The problem is my rag keeps catching a light, or paper towel, or whatever I use. I don't know what else I can use, but I'm gonna try and grab a t-shirt. I think it's like smoother than the rags do. But it definitely gets in there. I'm just waiting for this to cool down. I think the first thing by far is stir the tinning butter, because this stuff was so thin at first it ran down everywhere. So that's the first bit of advice I can give for it. I'm gonna let it cool for a minute and then get a different rag and try and smooth it out a bit more. So that's the second pass now with tin. I used a better rag on it. I was able to get a good finish on it. So it was the first disastrous pass, but I was able to cram it right down in there and felt like I got most of the holes out. So it's getting pretty warm too, so I'm going to give it a break, come back, try and get this filled a little higher, and then smooth the edges out here. And just want to get it higher now because I think it's full, and then try that. So see how it goes. So I took a break and came back out and just smushed it around a little, heated it up again. It's getting pretty warm now, but I think I'm gonna just try and file it down and find what's low and what's high, and then come back and fill it. I think a lot of these guys originally, when they did it, they just filled it high and then filed it, but I really don't know what it needs, so I'm just gonna try and file and see how I go and clean it up. It looks like a disaster, but I know that's how they usually look, so I'm just gonna keep rocking. Okay, so just doing a bit of filing, and went back in, heated up, and dropped a couple little spots in some low spots and filed them down. I guess the hardest thing about that is it's hard to press in the new stuff because everything else wants to run away, so it can kind of ruin all the work you've done pretty quickly. It's not horrible. I mean, it's not great, but it can hold its shape. This, I gotta address this still, but I'm trying to find if you can see the edge. It actually, it files down pretty good. It's a bit of elbow grease, but right now I'm just gonna fire up the torch again, and all this mess here, I'm just gonna melt, get it hot, and wipe it off with a rag because I don't really need it. And it's pretty high right here because this is really what I should be on. And this is a piece that I went back and refilled. So yeah, I think the learning curve isn't really much, but I think what makes people really good at this is that they can just fill once, file once, and be done, where I'm probably going to do this 10-20 times, but I'm just taking it safe. Yeah, it doesn't look like much, but it feels pretty good. It's hard to tell. A bit more filling and some filing, and it's starting to show some shape. If I can get a good shot of the light. It's there, but I've just got to come back and fill these low spots again and do it again. Once again, it's just I'm kind of surprised. It's not saying that the guys who are good at it aren't good at it, but it's for for me, right now it's just feeling like time spent. So I might put another little go on this and then head in and try and pick it up next weekend. But it's looking pretty good so far. What do you think, bud? We got it in, huh? It's in. I mean, it's just, I've been looking at this thing all afternoon. It's just cool to sit back and, not that the camera can pick it up, but yeah, man. And then this is where I left off with this. The light's probably blowing it out. Yeah, another hit with the file, and just took my time. Like, I'm finding spots now where I can't feel an edge. That's one thing, these files, man, they clog up quick, and if you don't take the stuff out of them, you end up with big scratches like that in there. So that was a lesson learned. But it's not great, but once again, it's good for a couple of hours. I think I spend this much time on it next weekend, and it should be pretty acceptable. I mean, I'm not going for anything super crazy. Like, you can see pinholes, a couple, but when you look at the other side, this side I haven't touched. I just blasted the car and left it, and you can kind of see it under the primer. You can see the line here, but if you get up close to it, it's got plenty of little holes in it, and yeah, then just run a bit of filler over the top of it, and it'll be good. See, the holes come all the way around here. So if I can get even half as good as that, or twice as many holes, or whatever you want to call it, I'd be pretty happy. A bit of a mess going on down in the drip rail here. I don't really know how to address it yet. I think I'm just going to grind it out, because I don't want to run the torch on here, because I don't want any of this to come upset. So that's probably what I'll do, but it's a minor issue. Plenty of lead filings everywhere, solder filings. But the cool stuff, this stuff just doesn't stick to anything that's not fluxed, or not tinned. But yeah, it'll I don't know if you can tell from that light. It'll get there, and I'm honestly pretty stoked with it. I don't know what else to cover. So next step, do some more finishing on this, fill the high spots with a couple more bits of lead, the low spots with a couple more bits of lead, file and finish it again, and then on to doing the trans tunnel. Figure out how I'm going to fab that. My biggest thing is I want it serviceable, so I want to be able to still pull the shifter and everything off at any point. So I think I'm going to have to come up with something along those lines at some point. But yeah, this thing's good. Bolts aren't fully in. I just ran them into the threads just so they're, so they're there. But it's pretty cool. So I'm going to cover this over, and we're done for the week. Cheers.